At 11:30 that morning, he had two appointments. One was with the governor, the other was in church. And he made the kind of decision he's been making almost all his life. He decided that he was going to go for both appointments. Now, to understand why both appointments are actually very important, we have to go back to many years back when this man was still a very young boy who believed that there was nothing God would give him that he wouldn't give back. As a young boy, he served God with his gifts. He was a leader, a very young leader. He managed people, coordinated, organized people, and someone in church noticed it and called him aside and gave him a gift, which was a shepherd stick that had an inscription, "Lead well," and told him, do not be so interested in where leadership is taking you to, but in what God wants you to do when you get there. And so this young boy, after secondary school, everyone got admission, but his life seems to stop. He didn't get admission. 2 years, he didn't get admission. And it was like, God, what's happening? You know that I love you and I will serve you. If you give me admission, I'm still going to use this gift to serve you there. Please help me. And then the next year, he got admission and went into school. Immediately he got into school, people noticed his gifts immediately, and they made him the course representative. And he had lecturers to attend to, students to represent, so many activities. And in the midst of all those things, someone from the school fellowship met him and said, you have a gift and we need someone to help us organize the outreach team. Can you please lead it for us? And he said, well, currently I'm very busy, but maybe after first semester I will come. And so first semester turned to second semester, turned to 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. He never went. And in the third year, his gifts and fame spread across even beyond his department. And then people began to urge him to contest for SUG president. And he did contest, and he won. And so when he won, there came a student that met him, and this student had a complaint that he was about to be rusticated from school, even though he didn't do what they were accusing him of. And he saw the complaint of the student and went through the file, and it was valid. And he told the student, don't worry, I'll attend to it later. But he never attended to it later. And then finally he graduated, and 3 years after graduation, he didn't get a job. He kept on applying, sending applications to no avail. And in the quiet of him having no employment, he found himself back to the God that he has been too busy for. Now he began to ask God, please help me. I know that I made a mistake. I said when you give me admission, I'm going to use my gifts for you, and I didn't. I'm sorry. This time around, I promise you. You see, I'm already using my gifts now, because he was now, serving, using his gifts as in the leadership position in his church now that he was unemployed. And so he said, you see, I'm using it for you now. I'm going to continue. Please help me. And then a few months later, he got an email. It was a job. He got a job, not just a job, a very good job at a reputable agency. And he was very happy. Everyone celebrated. And then he got into the job, and as soon as he resumed, they noticed his gifts as well. He began to do things, in the office that showed that he had leadership qualities. And the more he continued, the more opportunities they gave to him, the more responsibility they gave to him for him to continue. And he did well, and he led well, and he began to grow in his work. And then one Sunday, he was about to go to work. He already dressed, and he got a call, and it was from the office. They told him to come in to the office, that there was an emergency. Then he looked at his Bible, looked at his staff, looked at his phone, and he said, I'm just going to quickly go to the office. It's just one Sunday, What he didn't know is that one Sunday will turn out to become many Sundays, and many Sundays will turn out to become many years later. And so many years later, he had settled at his job, and he was still very, very much dedicated. He found himself a good woman, and he got married to her. And from having one, he told himself that now he has a wife, and both of them will serve God together. And from having one kid, he had 2 to 4 kids, and his home was filled with laughter and responsibility, coupled with responsibility at work. And he was just trying to fit in to do everything well. And one of his child came to him one day and said, Daddy, he brought the staff and said, Daddy, what's the meaning of this lead well on this staff? He looked at it and remembered what the leader had told him when he was a little boy in church. But then he told the child, Don't worry, I'll tell it, I'll explain it to you later. But he never did. Then he continued. This young boy rose from being just a junior officer to a senior officer to a head of department to a very young assistant director, and he continued so well that he became the youngest director at the agency. I know as he began to rise, there was a file at his desk, and they needed him to just sign the file. But he went through the file and saw that if he signed this, the junior officers were going to be badly affected. Their allowance was going to be taken off. So many things would leave them. But he knew that he was in a position to make the right decision, and he knew that he had the influence to say no to this. But then a senior officer beside him told him, "Sir, just sign it." And he said, "No, this will affect these people." But the officer told him, "Sir, this is from those above, and you know that you are trying to get some things from them, and if you don't sign this, it's going to cause a lot of problem between you and them." He knew what was right, but he also knew what was convenient, and he chose what was convenient over what was right. He was always thinking that he needed to resign from his job in order to serve God, but he never knew that even in his job, he can work for God, and an opportunity had presented itself, but he said no to it. And so this man turned 50, and at his 50th birthday, he threw an elaborate birthday party. People gave a lot of speeches, but one stood out. Someone said he had achieved at 50 years what many people could not achieve in 2 lifetimes. And so he went home and thought about it, lifetimes, and he began to think, how has his life given back to God? What is the trace that he has used his leadership qualities to serve God? And he found none, and he was truly sad, and he cried and he said, "God, I'm sorry. Okay, you know what? I'm going to give my life to you now. I'm going to resign and give everything back to you, but I'm going to do it once I'm 55 years." So he actually did that. At 55 years, he resigned. And once he had resigned, he decided that it was no more. He went back home, met his wife, told his wife encouraged him and said, "It's okay." After all, he had money, so there was nothing to worry about. So he said now he was going to give his life entirely to service to God. And so he slept that night and woke up the next morning. And immediately he woke up, he got a call. And once he picked the call was from the presidency. And he just found out that he has just been made a minister. And suddenly, everything he had achieved all his life looked as if it was too small because of this new ministerial position. And so he began to think maybe this was God calling him into being a minister. After all, it would be a good thing for a child of God to be a minister and serve God in that capacity. And he wasn't wrong, he was right. But howbeit, throughout the 4 years he served as minister, he served well, he did right, but there was nothing to still trace him back to service to God in his job. And so after 4 years, he was almost 60 years. And so he decided that this is it. But people told him, no, you have the capacity, you have the influence, you have everything, the money, you have to go further. The right thing to do is for you to go for a senatorial position or even governor. And he said no, he's no more. He has postponed all his life. He has always said later all his life, but now it was time for him to make the right decision. And so he said no, he was not going to, he was no longer going to do that, or he was going to give his life strictly to the service of God. And so as he was scrolling through his phone, he saw an advert on his church page, and on his church social media page, they said leaders needed. And he said this is actually his calling, because this is what he has been wanting to do, to serve in the capacity of a leader. This is a gift that he has. And so he said I must not miss this meeting. And the meeting was for Saturday by 12 p.m. And so that Saturday morning, he woke up, dressed up, and was about to go for the meeting around 11:32. And he got a call, and the call was from the governor's office. And the caller told him that the governor wanted to see him by 12 p.m. And he told them, no, I have a meeting by 12 p.m. already. And he said, no, this is the governor. He specifically mentioned your name. He wants you and other important people to be there. And then he began to think of the possibility of, this being a talk with the governor in order to, contest for governorship position. And then he made the decision that he has always made all his life, albeit slightly different. This time around, he said, okay, I will go for both of them. And then he rushed. He said he was just going to go to be in church for like 5 minutes, register, rush to the governor's office, even if he was going to be late. And so he started going to church. And he was driving. It was approaching the church. and it was, very close to 12 p.m. And he was driving. His phone was ringing. It was still from the call from the governor's office. He looked at the phone, looked at the windscreen, kept on driving. He said he was not going to pick it. He was going to go to church first, And around 11:59 p.m., the phone rang again. He looked at the phone, looked at the windscreen, looked at the phone, then looked at the windscreen again. It was just very close to the church. A trailer was approaching, and before you know it, impact. Glass shattered, iron folded. The world was as if it was spinning. Everything turned to darkness. And then he opened his eyes and looked, and people were running everywhere, running towards his car. But he stood up and looked at himself and was like, no scratch, no blood, no nothing, no pain on his body. Oh, he was like, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Jesus. And then he saw a woman close to his car, putting her hands on her head and crying. And he was like, come on, it's just a car. I can buy another one. But then it was already past 12. So he looked at his time. I was like, no, I'll buy another car. It's nothing. Let me quickly rush and register for the church appointment. And so the church was just there. He entered the church. And normally, he is someone that once he's entering the gate, everyone is hailing him, honorable. The gate man will hail him, sir, honorable, sir, honorable, sir. But the gate man did not even send him, did not look at him. And so he passed. And he passed, he greeted the gate man. The gate man did not answer him. He left him. He continued walking into the church. Then he saw a man, Mr. James, that he knows from church. And he was like, hey, Mr. James, how are you doing? Mr. James didn't answer him. Mr. James kept running towards the crash. And he was like, what's wrong with everybody today? But he kept on going. Then he got to the position where he was supposed to register. And then he saw a little queue, but he went to the front desk and was like, excuse me, please. I am supposed to have a meeting with the governor right now. But I decided to come here to register. Please, can I just register so I can go? But nobody answered him. Nobody even looked at him. Nobody cared he was there. And he was like, what is wrong with you people? He started becoming angry. How can I be here? I left the meeting for the governor and I'm here to register. And you people don't want to attend to me. Did I make a mistake by coming here? Why can nobody answer me? Then he heard a voice that said, they can no longer hear you. And I was like, what do you mean they can no longer hear me? He turned and he saw an old man wearing plain clothes. And so he looked at the old man and said, what do you mean they cannot hear me? Am I not shouting? I've been screaming here, they can't hear me. And the man said, well, they can't hear you for the same reason they can't hear me. It's like, what exactly are you talking about? What do you mean? And the man said, well, because you and I are now the same. And so he looked at the man and was like, what do you mean you and I are now the same? Look at you wearing tattered clothes. Do you know who I was? I was the youngest director at my agency. I was a minister. I was going to be a governor. Was, the old man said. Do you notice he kept saying was? And I said, I was going to be. The man said, you don't know anything. The reason why they cannot hear you or attend to you is because you are dead. It's like, what do you mean I'm dead? Look at me, I'm not dead. What are you talking about? The man said, pointed at the crash and said, look, go and look. Then he became scared and afraid. And he found himself in front of the crash scene. And then he saw the crash car. He saw a body down there. The body looked like him. The body had the same clothes, the same watch, the same shoes. Everything was the same. And he looked closely. The body was truly him. And then he was like, no, I cannot be dead. No, I cannot die. And he was talking, his phone rang. He looked at the phone. It was the governor's office calling. The governor meeting was still going to hold. The church meeting was still going to hold. The only thing that had ended was his life. And so he found himself back to church and he went to the man and said, I'm sorry, give me one more chance, one more year, one more month, in fact, one more day. I'll fix it right. I was already coming here to serve God. I know I kept saying later, but now I'm here, I'm ready. But the man didn't say anything. The man was just silent. And so as he was talking, he saw a young man who was there to register, and suddenly the young man's phone rang. And the young man looked at the phone and said, I'll sign it later. I started walking out. And he rushed to the man and said, no, don't make the kind of mistakes I made. Don't say later. Sign it now. Don't do this. But the young man didn't listen to him. The young man walked out of the gate. And he was there, crying, and said, I need one more chance. I'm sorry. And he began to reflect back at his life. He began to see how he had many opportunities to lead, many opportunities to serve with his gift, but he didn't. As a young boy in secondary school who prayed for admission and got it, became too busy for God in school. Even when he had opportunity to serve God as an SG president, he didn't. Even when he became a director, he had opportunity to use his office for good of mankind, he didn't. Even when he was a minister, there was nothing that would trace his gift back to God. And he kept on saying later, kept on postponing everything to later. He lived a lifetime of later. And then, in the end, everything continued except his life. Now, the mistake he made was that he thought that he needed to resign from his job in order to serve God. He needed to drop everything in order to give his life to God. But what he didn't know is that even in the capacity of his job, God wanted him to work for him. Now, he didn't make a mistake by being director, minister, being successful or whatnot. The mistake he made was that he thought that serving God was something he needed to do later. He kept asking, when will I have time for God? Not knowing that he could use that particular time he had for God. And this is the mistake that a lot of us make. We keep thinking that we will serve God later. We keep thinking that we need to be in church before we serve God. Not knowing that even in our daily life that we live, it could be a worship unto God. In our job can become a work to God. In the way we live our life daily, it can be service unto God. And that was his mistake. He kept looking for an opportunity to serve God, not knowing that the opportunity was always before him. Now I ask you, what gift do you have that you need to use for God and you're not using, or not even using to full capacity? Do you think that when you look back, you said you have run a good race, you have fought a good fight, and you are finished? Or will you look back and see that it was just a lifetime of later? You need to use the gift that God has given you. To use it as a worship unto Him, so that unlike the man who no longer has time, you that have time now, you can use it to the glory of His name. Think about this. Think.